What is fiat money, otherwise known as fiat currency? This is a question that many people ask themselves as they enter the financial markets for the first time. The word fiat comes from a Latin word which essentially means, loosely translated, it shall be, which refers to the concept that fiat currency maintains value because a given government that issues that currency says it has value. This is why fiat currency is often referred to as currency by decree, which essentially means that the currency has value because the governing body that issues that currency says it has value. Alright, so where did fiat money come from? Essentially, the way it worked was that in the mid-1970s, many countries began to move away from what was known as the gold standard, or the concept of only printing the amount of money that you could back up with physical gold reserves you had at a central bank. Under the gold standard, one could theoretically go to a bank and say, I have $100. I would like $100 worth of gold, please. And you would give your $100 to the bank and they would give you $100 of gold. I don't have $100 of gold, guys, sorry. But anyways, under fiat rules and fiat guidelines with fiat currency, you go to the bank and you say, I would like $100 worth of gold, and they laugh in your face because they don't have to actually have any underlying physical asset. Fiat currency only maintains its value because the government says that there is value. There's no underlying physical commodity that determines the issuance of this currency. Whoa, hold on, Alex. What do you mean by issuance? Essentially, what I mean is that under the gold standard, countries can only print as much money as they had gold or silver or a physical commodity in reserve. When they moved to fiat currency, what that essentially allowed them to do is print money for free. They could just print more money. They didn't have to have a physical commodity. If they needed more money, they could print more money. And the result of this, however, was something very dangerous. It's called inflation. And if gone unchecked, you can have something called hyperinflation, which is essentially when the government prints so much money that the money literally becomes useless. The advantage to utilizing fiat currency from a government perspective, of course, is that it gives them a tremendous amount of flexibility. They're able to print money to solve financial problems that could never be solved otherwise. The disadvantage, of course, is that your country or your government can now print money to solve financial problems that could not be solved otherwise, which could result in the aforementioned inflation or hyperinflation in its worst cases. So if printing more money decreases its value, why does fiat currency have any value at all? Well, that's an extremely complex topic that I think goes a little outside the realm of this video. But realistically, the way it works is that different currencies are worth different amount of money on the world markets. And it's also dependent on the supply and the demand of those given currencies. And one way you can kind of look at it is say, okay, so if currencies have, or fiat currencies I should say, have inflationary pressures, they keep getting printed and therefore they're losing value. Are there deflationary currencies? Well, let's look at a cool chart and I'll show you just one of them. So here's a very interesting website that has the top fiat currencies ranked by market capitalization, which is the value of the currency multiplied by its circulating supply. And you'll notice that China's at the top with the US dollar at number 2, the euro number 3. And what's interesting about this is when I click this button, you'll notice that it actually determines that the circulating supply of all these countries is in fact unlimited, meaning that all these countries and all these currencies can continue to print currency as much as they want. There's only one exception, and that is at number 15, Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a max supply. It is considered a deflationary currency, and that is why there's a lot of people that are interested in Bitcoin. And in fact, this whole website is based off Bitcoin. You might have noticed, what were sats? Well, sats are satoshis, which is a unit of Bitcoin. So, there's 100 million satoshis in one Bitcoin. The result is that, the Russian ruble is 29 satoshis. And so that is how you determine the value. So market cap in Bitcoin for the US dollar, how many satoshis it takes to buy a US dollar, and etc. But what I want to illustrate here is that you have inflationary currencies. Currencies by decree, fiat currencies, currencies with unlimited supply, where the countries can actually print their own. But an algorithm and the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, determined the Bitcoin max supply of 21 million Bitcoin. So it is a deflationary currency. It is something that is very unique in the world of finance. If you'd like to learn more, I think you should check out this playlist here, which has a ton of valuable information, all sorted in alphabetical order to help you fundamentally understand the core concepts of finance. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.